Hello. In this lesson, we're going to learn about the key features of PGS. We're going to start with looking at the grassroots organisations. In PGS, the term grassroots refers to those stakeholders that are most involved in producing and consuming PGS products. As far as possible, a PGS will be built on local initiatives with and for the people it is designed to serve. This does not mean that a government body or external organisation cannot be involved or even initially take the lead, but rather that the grassroots movements will be integral to the PGS development process and its operations. PGS is suitable for smallholder agriculture. There is no one single definition of the term smallholder. And particularly in terms of PGS, it is widely viewed that the initiatives that follow PGS, there is no such thing as a specific criteria that is applied to that term. To be suitable for smallholder agriculture means that a PGS will be designed to be affordable for smallholder farmer families and culturally appropriate in terms of paperwork, procedures, and applied processes. Another key feature of PGS are the mechanisms to support farmers. There are several ways in which PGS can provide support to producers. Facilitation of market access. On its own, or through the support of farms organisations or even NGOs, a PGS initiative might facilitate market access via specific activities such as organising the venue for farmer markets, promoting the label to consumers and other buyers, or providing market information. Information and technical support is also provided to producers, and they can be supported through inputs from technical advisors, newsletters, websites, farm visits, and peer reviews. The ability of producers to take advantage of these different support measures will depend on the literacy levels and access to media. For producers who have low levels of literacy, regular interaction with other peers and technical advisors is critically important. Another key feature of PGS is that norms are conceived by all stakeholders. When deciding on standards, it is important to differentiate between production rules, norms, and compliance criteria. Some standards include both, while others simply describe production rules. Production rules describe those factors that relate to inputs and general management of the production environment. Compliance criteria, however, describes the operational aspects of PGS, such as the requirements for application and membership, procedures to be followed in the verification process, documentation requirements, and sanctions for non-compliance. Both production rules and compliance criteria should be agreed upon by key stakeholders involved in that specific PGS. This process can be time-consuming, but it is important because stakeholder participation is integral to developing ownership of and the commitment to PGS. Another important feature is documented management systems and procedures. The extent to which producers are expected to complete documentation and engage in record keeping can vary and might include a simple filing system, where receipts are filed through a written log cross-referenced against receipts. In some cases, a local group leader or resource person might manage the filing process on behalf of other group members. PGS documents can include standards. These could be full standard or just a summary if required. A database, which would include lists of members, status, products, details of each farm, maybe the crops, history, size of fields, etc. Producers' pledges or declaration of commitment, combined with information on the producer's farm, either a management plan or a farm record. All of these can be written documents or video recordings. Mechanisms to verify producer compliance is also a key feature. These mechanisms to verify producer compliance have established norms that should actively stimulate participation and encourage stakeholders to embrace cooperation and provide learning opportunities. These could include a description of the farm and farm activities, peer reviews like farm inspections, knowledge building, and sharing responsibilities, and reinforcing the idea of horizontality at all levels of the PGS. And as mentioned earlier, that farmer's pledge is a very key feature of PGS. Producers joining a PGS agree to establish norms and standards via a record or document. Depending on what is culturally or socially acceptable for a given context, this can be a signed declaration, or as I mentioned earlier, a video recording. The pledge can be made as a self-declaration, ideally to be signed, witnessed by another producer, or carried out publicly via a group process. The latter is particularly useful when farmers cannot read and write. A group pledge endorses both the individual and the group commitments to the norms and standards. Nevertheless, a group pledge does not replace individual responsibility. Just as a group certificate does not become invalid for the entire group, if one producer is found to be non-compliant, it covers farming activities and how these activities plan to follow the standards and the norms. Seals and labels are also a feature of PGS. A seal, or an official stamp, is used by PGS initiative to provide a formal endorsement of key documents, such as producer certificates. Such certificates are usually renewed each year, and the period of validity is often noted on the same document. The use of the seal is controlled and managed by nominated individuals or bodies, depending on the structure of the PGS initiative. Labels have a different purpose. They are attached to a single product, and their intention is to provide the consumer with the guarantee that the product is as sustainable and is following the quality standard. This label usually features the PGS logo and often the producer's number and code. And we will go into more detail of these logos and labels at a later stage in the course. And what is also very important is having clear and predefined consequences for non-compliance. There will always be circumstances where producers are unable to or fail to comply with their PGS standards and norms. In most cases, such non-compliance is minor and mostly centered on perennial challenges of record keeping. However, in some cases, non-compliance might be more serious, such as the deliberate use of prohibited inputs or product mislabeling. It is evident that the consequences of non-compliance will be graded to fit the seriousness of non-compliance. So in summary, the key features of PGS are grassroots organizations, farmers' pledges, norms conceived by all stakeholders, documented management systems and procedures, mechanisms to verify compliance, and clear and predefined consequences for non-compliance. There are mechanisms to support farmers, and seals and labels as evidence of the status of the product.